I'm trying to get my camera together. How y'all doing? Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? My name is Lachelle. Those that are new to my channel, I talk about relationships, faith, just anything God, pretty much, basically. So just good morning. This is a surprise live. This was not scheduled. So if I have anybody that's new, welcome. If you are returning viewer, welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about the state and the condition of today's children. The state and the condition of today's children. I'm going to be reading from Proverbs 22:6, and that's going to be from the English Standard Version, and it reads, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." I'm going to be talking about the state of today's children because something with one of my daughters recently just happened, or been kind of transpiring at school. You know, she recently transferred. She's in seventh grade. She recently transferred to this particular middle school that's kind of zoned in our area. Not that long ago. Matter of fact, November last year to be exact. And ever since she transferred, she has not had the best time with fitting in, you know, being a part of the crowd, you know, how it goes. We was once in school, high school, middle school, and we had our pick as well, you know. So she hasn't had a good experience. Every day ain't been the best for her, but I still try to encourage her, you know, to show up every day, show up for herself. And, you know, I tell my kids they have to cover themselves. I cover my kids before they leave the house, and I also tell them to learn how to take their thoughts captive, which is something different. But anyways, to fast forward to what I'm saying is she's been getting technically, in a sense, a bullied by a classmate. You know, started over a boy. You know, my daughter is not even allowed to date. She's only 12 years old, and she is not allowed to date. But it started over a boy, and, you know, just he say, she say, and it just transpired from there. Thank God a fight did not happen. So I was able to, you know, my daughter was very crushed in spirit behind that, and she was like, you know, I was just trying to talk to her, and she was just ready to fight. And, you know, that was one instance. And I told her, well, at least it didn't happen. You know, just next time, before you take matters into your own hand, go, you know, go tell personnel, go tell a teacher, go tell somebody that's in authority. So that kind of died down. And then another situation about a month ago had happened again, where the girl came back to this young lady came back to my daughter. And she confronted her about something different. Once again, he say, she say, my daughter thought she was able to, you know, squash that, scramble that. She got back into when I came to pick her up, she let me know, you know your children, even when they try to hide it, you know something is off with your children. And my daughter, she was trying to hide what was going on. But I was able to get it out of her, and she told me once again this same young lady had approached her again off of something that she didn't say, and she said she was able to kind of calm the situation again. So at this particular time, I took it upon myself to reach out personally to the school. And, you know, I was giving them the ins and out about what I knew about it, and that I didn't want my daughter involved in no type of confrontation at all. You know, I don't raise my kids that way. Kids are going to be kids regardless. I know that when kids are out of our eyesight, sometimes they can do whatever they want to, despite how you raise them. I know this all too well. I was a child, okay? But they assured me that they was gonna do their best to solve that. And I took them at their word. And, you know, in the school system, thank God for teachers, thank God for people that's called into that field, because I mean that's a whole different gift. That's a whole different, you know, for the teachers. Thank God for them. But it died down. So recently, again, third time, it had transpired again with he say, she say, and this time my daughter became fed up. You know, she said she got up and she ended up slamming the door. You know, slamming the door. She screamed so loudly that everybody in the cafeteria, you know, heard her, and everybody stopped talking. And when she stormed out, one of the personnel came to, you know, ask her what was going on, and she told them what was going on. So fast forward, to make a long story short, she came and she told me, and this time around, you know, I always give her encouraging words, but I had to sit this one out after I gave her some encouraging words. And I went into prayer, And the Lord revealed to me that this young lady was going through some things. This young lady was going through some things at home. I don't know what it was that she was going through. You know, I have yet to touch on it, but he revealed to me that this young lady was going through some darkness. And she wasn't going through darkness currently. She been through some darkness, and she don't have an outlet at home, so she takes it out on anybody that she can at school. She's not popular at home, so she's glorified at school. You know, because my daughter did tell me that this particular young lady is a popular young lady. And so I pulled my daughter to the side later on that evening, and I told her what the Lord revealed to me. And I told her, I always try to raise my kids right, as righteous as I can, you know. But, you know, I do tell them, don't let nobody hit you now. Don't, no, we ain't going to do all that. But, I told her that we need to pray for this young lady because it's something deeper. It's something deeper going on. It's something more so under the surface. So that's what we did, and we prayed for this young lady. So today I just want to talk about Proverbs 22:6 and how training up your child can affect them in the world and affect them in adulthood. You know, it saddens me so much now when I look at the news. Mostly when I look at the news, and I try not to because it's so depressing. And I see that the age and the gravestones are becoming younger and younger. It's because they becoming younger and younger, and that that's a bothersome to me. And according to Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It is not a promise that your children will not walk out of the will of God. I know some parents that are godly parents, you know, that raise their kids up in the way that they should go, and their kids still decided to walk out on faith. So we can't just judge a child and be like, because this child ended up in prison, or because this child ended up acting out, or the behavior of this child, you know, is the way that, you know, they are, is because of the parents. Not necessarily. Again, I done had my share with my own child. I got one that's going to be 18. My oldest child is going to be 18, a boy, and Zach. And I done had some instances when you talk to him, it didn't seem like I raised him. You know, it seemed like somebody totally outside of me raised him. When I done had some times when I had to step back and be like, Lord, am I rearing him right? Am I raising him right? And that's not to say that I wasn't. It wasn't to say that I wasn't, but sometimes kids get exposed to other things and other people, and sometimes kids just be kids and they act out. So I done had my share with that. But again, Proverbs 22:6, when we say train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's not saying that your kids will not walk out on faith. That's not saying that. That's not saying that they won't leave their faith behind or they won't deny God. It's saying that you're building a strong foundation of faith. You should be building a strong foundation of faith for them. So if they do decide to walk out, they will return. The promise that our kids will always love God. Rather, we should take it as wisdom for helping our kids build a firm foundation. With a good foundation, they are more likely to understand what God has done for them, and they will follow him. Again, like I said, in today's society, it's just so troubling to see. Start with my young men with their pants hanging all to the ground. My kids know, and my son, he tried every now and then, he tried to pull it, you know, to fit into the crew, you know, to fit into the game, to fit into, you know, society standards. But it ain't about society standards. I teach my children to respect yourself, respect. Pull up your pants. Nobody want to see your underwear. Nobody's want to see your bottoms. Nobody want to see none of that. And for my young lady that's 12 and 15 of age, you know, obviously they growing up in a society where social media is very prevalent amongst their mindset. They have growing minds, you know, and so we have to be mindful of what our kids watch and what our kids intake. Yes, I'm still I go with my girls when they go buy clothes. They are not allowed to go buy clothes by themselves. Do I trust them? Yes. But again, they have been exposed to society and social media where Western standards is the standards of what beauty is. Your figure have to be this, and that to be considered beautiful. Your hair have to be past a certain length to be deemed beautiful. And I'm here to tell that's nothing but a lie. That's nothing but the lie. That's a lie from the devil. That none of those are standards of God. And again, when our kids go out into the world, in a sense, they are a representation of us. Again, the grades for these children, my goodness, when you walk into the graveyard nowadays, I mean, in the 2000s, 2001, 2002s, I mean, babies, literally children is dying left and right. And and all we can do, when I was growing up, they said it took a village to raise a child. Nowadays, baby, you better be careful, because I done seen it time after time again. Mothers, fathers coming to the school ready to be in a physical altercation with the teacher, just from the teacher taking a cell phone from a child. There's no type of understanding. That's mostly, my child didn't do this, my child didn't do that. So how we seeing our kids in the world, again, is a kind of a representation of us. If we don't show our kids the right way, then they're not going to know what to do. The world going to eat them up. The world's going to swallow them alive. The world is going to swallow them alive. A parent's primary role is to be a trainer, not their friend. This is something that I had to learn. This is something that I had to step in. I had a problem years ago. I had an issue years ago when I wanted to be my kid's friend. I wanted to, and I wanted to literally be their friend. So every time they asked me for something, and I wanted to give them that. I wanted to give them that. I wanted to hang out with them. But, then disrespect started coming in. Okay, so now I had to take a step back and reevaluate, what am I doing wrong? And the Lord had revealed to me, you mothering, but you're not, you want to be their friend. You can't do that. You can't be their friend. So I tell my kids, you have a friend in me. I'm not your friend. I'm your parent, and my job is to raise you into an adult. My job is to raise you as righteous and then the perfect as I can. Okay. To prepare, okay, train them to be loved and to serve the Lord. This is our job. This is the job of a parent, And nowadays I see that being, grandparents are raising their grandchildren at an all-time high. It is very true. It's at an all-time high. I myself was raised by for a portion of my life. Me and my siblings was raised by my granddaddy. He gone on, to glory now. But he was a good man. But he raised us so my mama can, do her little thing, God bless, but so she can do her little thing. But he raised us as right as he knew how. He was done raising kids. I was born, I believe, when my granddaddy was 63, long done with raising kids. But due to their compassion and their love for their child, which was my mother, they took on me and my siblings. And God bless. I can never thank them enough for how they, live their life and how they raised me and my siblings. Thank God for grandparents. Thank God for grandparents. Thank God for that they step up. I don't think it's their job, but nowadays, like I said, I see grandparents. Not only that, grandparents is becoming younger and younger nowadays. Grandparents is becoming younger and younger. Grandparents are starting to be in their 30s, honey, in their 40s. But again, like I said, training up our children in the right way is very important. We have to set a standard, okay? We have to set a standard. The training starts at home. It starts in the house. It don't start. The teacher's not your children first teacher. The pastor's not your kids first teacher. We are our children first teacher, and they look to us. They look up to us, and it's important that we live as righteous and godly as we know how. Yes, sure, we're gonna fall and we're gonna stumble along the way, and that's okay. We're not perfect people, okay? But God intended for us to raise our children in a godly way, so when they are older and our hands is off of them, then we know that they'll be okay. Yeah, they might go astray. But they will come back, okay? They will come back into their foundation. As long as you lay a firm foundation, you lay a godly foundation. That is so important, because I believe nowadays parents stop praying over their children. We used to have praying mothers. We used to have praying fathers. The people stopped praying. What happened to prayers? As you see, they done took prayer out of school. We can't even pray in school anymore. So cover your children before they leave the house. This is our job, to cover our children before they leave the house. We shouldn't let society get a hold of our children before we done already had to say so over our children. Okay, cover your children. You're not going to be perfect, but train them up in a way that they should go. And when they are old, they won't depart from it. Again, this is not a promise. It's not, we won't say they won't walk out and they won't deny their faith and they won't get out of character. Because again and again, and I'm one of them parents, when I had a child that acted up, and if you seen him on the street, like if you met him, he did still say yes ma'am or no ma'am, but it was his attitude, it was his behavior. So you would have thought like, oh, something is going on in his home. His parents ain't doing right by him, or something is going on that's affecting his child. And look how he acting. Look how talking, but that passed. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I laid my hands on my child, and it didn't happen overnight. It did not happen overnight, but with obedience and steadfast and obedience and supplication, God will bring some things to pass, and He'll work it out for your good. You hear me? He will work it out for your good. We just have to cover our children in prayer before we send them into the world, because if we don't, the world gonna swallow them alive. Young ladies, for instance, is subjected over so much society and peer pressure. It's at an all-time high. It's at an all-time high. It's at an all-time high. And again, as mothers, this is why I put out a recent video because we have young ladies, we have people that's looking at dress with dignity. Cover yourself. Have some type of dignity and respect about you, because your daughters are watching you. Our kids are always watching us, whether they tell us they're watching us or not. They are. Whether they tell us they're watching us or not, they are. I have 10 eyes that's always watching me. If one set of eyes take their eyes off me, I still got 4 sets that's still watching. And I say that because I have 5 kids, ranging from 17 to 6 years old. Okay, so I always have eyes that's watching me. But it's important for us to build up, again, a strong foundation for us, for ourselves, and for our children to follow. We have to leave a legacy. It ain't about the latest clothes. It ain't about the latest shoes, about the latest technology. All that's good to have, yeah, all that's wonderful. I want us to have those type of things, but it starts at home. You don't need to be going to no school acting a fool if you ain't raised your child up and act when they're in public society. You do not need to go to no school when you have not set the foundation for how your children should act. Nowadays, like I said, mothers going to the club with their daughters, to each its own. But see what I'm saying? They setting the foundation for no respect, and they looking at their mothers as their friends, and so that's how they gonna go through life. That's my friend, not my mother, and the respect gonna be due to somebody else and not their mother, because they always seen their mother as their friend because she did friend things. Your children have a friend in you, but you're not your children's friend. You are their parent and you are their trainer, because you are there to raise your children up into adulthood, because they're only going to be children for so long. They're only going to be children for so long, and then eventually we're going to have adults. My son, like it passed right on by. I'm going to have an 18-year-old child in July. He going to always be my baby, but to the real world, he's an adult. He's an adult, and I try to raise them as rightfully as I can, and it's, in the will of God. And I cover my kids before they get into the world, because like I tell them, you, it's not how the world gonna treat you. I'm letting you know that right now. How I treat you and what happens in this home is not how the world gonna do it. But again, train your child up. It's important. It starts at home. Obedience starts at home. Respect starts at home. And you can't tell your children anything if you're not doing the same thing. You cannot tell your children anything if you're not being a good representation for your children. They're going to look elsewhere. So it's going to, don't act this way, don't act that way, and they see you doing it. Okay, they hold you to a high standard. Whether these children tell us or not, they do hold us to a high standard, and we are their first role model. So my best advice to you guys is to live as righteous as possible. The God left His word. He left a law for all of us, all of us. It don't matter what nation we stay in nowadays, because we live in a generation and we live in a time that technology, we exposed to everything. So it's no excuse. If we don't got the Holy Bible in physical form, we got it in digital form. So it's no excuse. But it's our job to raise our children up in a right way, okay, before we send them out to the world. Teach them how to dress, teach them how to walk, teach them how to talk. And they're going to be okay. Yes, they may stray, but you already know you done covered your children. I covered my children. I covered my household. So I know that they're going to be back. And I know that I set that firm foundation for my children. But it starts at home. You can't be mad at the young man or the young woman that you done raised if you know that you didn't do all that you needed to do and that was required for you to raise your children right. You cannot be mad at what adults that you produce that's going to be in this world soon by on their own if you wasn't a good representation. I know there's a lot of fathers missing out the household, and I know I'm for one a single mother. God, He will do it for you. You hear me? He has helped me raise my children. Glory be to God. He has helped me raise my children. When society said you might as well give up, you might as well throw in the towel, let me tell you. And I'm raising in Jesus' name respectable young men and respectable young women. I won't have it any other way. Now they decide to go on the street and do elsewhere. They can't say it started at home. They can't say I seen my mama live like that, because they didn't. They might say, yeah, I seen my mama stumble a little bit. She fell a little bit, but she didn't stay there. She got back up and she dusted herself off. And she went on by her business. And she still raised us as righteous and as right as she could, as she knew how. That's what my kids say. And you want to leave a legacy. It ain't always about property that you leave for your children. What legacy would you leave for your children? What can your children say at your funeral? What will they say at your funeral? My mama this, my daddy that. What would you want your children to say at your funeral? If you died right now, what would you think would be, what do you think your children would say about you? What legacy would you leave for your children or your grandchildren? Think about it. Would it be a good legacy? Would they say that mama was a good woman? She did the best that she could. Or was mama a selfish woman? All she did was think about herself. Her daddy wasn't around. He decided to go be with somebody any more. He decided to do. They was both selfish. What would your legacy be? Because again, legacy ain't always about fame and property and wealth. It's not always about that. I'm talking about the legacy that your name carries, that your name holds for your family and for generations to come. What legacy would you leave if God was to come take you today? Ask yourself that. But again, we have to stop sending our children into the world and expecting teachers and pastors and everybody else to train our children up. That is our job. And again, I'm going to repeat, that's not to say that we're not depart from that, because it's not a promise. Proverbs 22:6, it's not a promise, but it gives you hope. It gives you hope that regardless of where your children go, they will be okay, because you cover them in prayer and you set a good, firm and found foundation for your kids while they was growing up. Now they're into adulthood. But if you don't set it and they go out into the world, what faith would they be able to come back on? They're gonna say, well, I lived in a household where there was no faith, there was no praying, there was no God. What foundation will there be for them to come back to? So start while you still have a chance. We are our kids' first teachers, and it's important, it's imperative that we do right by them. We want to raise productive, godly young men and godly young women. So, okay, everybody, I hope that message resonated with somebody, a parent or two, a aunt, a grandmama. And just like I said, just recount and just go back. And like I said, you want to leave a legacy for your children. And it's not always about wealth. It's not always about property. It ain't always about fame. What weight does your name hold? If your children was to say something about you today, what would they say? What would they be able to say? That's important for me. I would want my kids to say she was a good woman. She did the best she could with raising us. She was a righteous woman. She was a godly woman. I seen her pray. I seen her cover us. She didn't just go in public and do it. She did it. Her first ministry was her home. Her first ministry was her home. My home is my first ministry. My home is my first ministry because I ran children. I can't go out here and speak to you guys if I'm not doing it and I'm not practicing what I preach in secret. In my home. That's what my kids, I know my kids can say. And it ain't easy raising children, but I'm going to raise them in a righteous way. I'm going to raise them in a godly way. Because that's what my God told me to do. And so when I can rest assured, when I'm long gone on, when God called me home, my children are going to be okay. My children will be okay. They will be fine. So again, what legacy will you leave for your kids? What would your children say about you when you no longer here? Or while you still here? But what would they have to say about you? Raise your children right. No matter what society say, because they got all kinds of stuff. You listen to these people talking about what you should be doing, how you should be dressing, this, how to do this, baby, you doomed. You doomed, okay? God left the Bible for us, which is the word, and we know that word gonna forever stand. So again, what legacy would your children have? What would your children say about you? Again, I hope this message resonated with somebody. God bless you all. I love you all. If you are new to this channel and you enjoyed the message, please consider subscribing and hitting this like button so this message can reach who it needs to. And in the meantime, God bless you guys and take care.